So, here's something that's really interesting to me. Some ladies finally learned that some of the men that they date don't like them. Now, this is weird to me because I don't understand how they could have had relationships with men that don't like them and never learn that lesson. It's so odd that it took a Twitter thread that was about a month old to the time I'm recording this video at least, that I had kind of heard about through the grapevine. I've heard about it. It was interesting. I'd heard about it, but I never investigated it until I saw this video we'll be responding to in a moment. But it's just... I'm laughing because it just seems so baffling to me that it took that Twitter thread, it took a tweet for them to be like, for them to get red pilled, I guess, so to speak. But it's like, you would have had the relationship, you couldn't tell that the person didn't like you, they put on such a facade. I'm be honest with you, I don't think, I know a lot of people love to say that individuals that they date are such manipulators. They're just so crafty. They just pretend so well. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think people are actually really that good at pretending. I really don't. I think what happens is the mind sees what it wants to see. The mind, what the individual who is quote unquote being manipulated, isn't even actually being manipulated. It's just that because they want what's present, they believe that it's there more so than they want to accept the reality that is actually present. But then I'll have to go into detail about that in the future to really go deep into it, because I'll be really honest with you, there is something peculiar about the way some of these people responded to it. Now, I'm going to start off with this video here. Now, this video is actually a part of a larger video. Well, don't worry, we'll get through it all. But you'll notice something really interesting. I'm not going to spoil it. In fact, I'm going to play it and we're going to do some commentary. There you go.
This tweet just went viral on X about men hating their girlfriends. This guy says, that phase where you slowly start hating your girlfriend is crazy. Ladies, I've been saying this for forever. You have to be very careful about this girlfriend term because men will hate your guts and stay in the relationship. Why? Because he gets to use your body. You know the saying, men will bleep a hole in the wall. So he literally doesn't like you. You're in this, you're obsessed with him, you like him, you're thinking about marriage, maybe kids, you're designing your wedding. The guy doesn't like you, he's just using your body for now until he can upgrade from you. So if you want marriage, be very careful about hopping into this girlfriend thing. This guy, he also gets 107,000 likes from other men who apparently relate to this phase of hating their girlfriend. So this is apparently some common thing going on in the modern male. Careful, because men will use you to upgrade themselves. Let me say that again. Men will use you for the time being until they can upgrade, and then they'll leave you in the dust and they won't care at all. You better be careful about who you give your time to.
Now, I'm certain that our presenter there is of the homosexual persuasion, right? As such, like he doesn't. I guess you could say he's got a dog in this fight. I guess you could say he's got more of a dog in this fight than a straight man would. But it is interesting. As a male who would date males, would still walk away with this feeling, right? As being a male, you think there'd be a little bit more. Listen, one of the things that annoys me greatly is when we talk about men dating women, right? We ignore the undesirables, right? So we use the generalized term of men, right? But you need a red pill, black pill, so to speak, understanding of like all undesirables are just removed. All of the simps removed. All of the nice guys removed. All of the average men removed. So really, men means desirable men, sexually attractive men. Now, an interesting question does need to be begged. Two interesting questions need to be begged, right? A lot of interesting questions need to be begged on this one, right? So these are all of the men that women pick, that these women had to have selected, right? They had to. How else were they in a bloody relationship with them? What made you want to date him in the first place? One thing that I've noticed about a lot of relationships, and the way a lot of people describe the relationships that they've been in, I've been trying to reverse engineer this stuff for quite some time. But one through line that is very consistent, right? I call it a zero-sum game for a reason. And that is, the moment a lady is attracted to you, the moment she gets the spark, the moment she gets the je ne sais quoi, the moment she gets the vibe, right? All bets are off at that point. And the reason why I say that is within reason, short of like you grab her dog and you just twist its neck, right? Like come on, like within reason, a lot of traits or a lot of things that would be awful and bad are just recontextualized, right? Being aloof is now being mysterious, right? Being mean is now seen as teasing or as flirting or as nagging or so to speak. Again, like a lot of, like you would say, red pill, black pill guys have this understanding. What's so it belies the both silly, sad, and stupid is that a lot of young women don't have this understanding of themselves and how they're relating to their relationships, right? Because honestly, a relationship with it really should be kind of clear to see someone doesn't like you. I don't know to what extent someone can truly manipulate you, because there's just two things you need to know if someone likes you. One, when you need help, they help you. Two, they take interest in you. If the person's not taking interest in you, they probably don't like you. It's probably that simple, right? if there's been a prolonged period of time, right, and he's not asking about you, he's not talking to you, he's not being friendly to you, and again, there's only, if someone really dislikes you this much, there's really only so much they can really take. I mean, I just can't really imagine a scenario where you truly met a villainous Machiavellian mastermind as such, right? But let's just go back to the video, right? Because I'm going off the beaten path. I'll probably pick this point back up later. But it's like he's going on and he's telling girls again. So I've been saying this for years. I find it so interesting. It took them that these dudes will just be with them to just have sex with them. I'm like, how did you not know? Right? And so again, it comes back to the heart wants what it wants, or like you have to want to be manipulated, because there's many men are very clear and direct, and I think that there might be some dudes who do the bare minimum, there goes that word, of doing the cost of business to keep you around because you give them access to sex. The question I kind of have to ask, and this is what really bothers me about these relationships, is as a woman, what are you doing? I want you guys to remember something about the video we just watched here, right? The way that our flamboyant friend here described how the woman's side of that relationship was. Let's just go back over. Here you go, right?
So he literally doesn't like you. You're in this, you're obsessed with him, you like him, you're thinking about marriage, maybe kids, you're designing your wedding.
Right? Now I'm sitting there like, you just love this man. You didn't do nothing. You didn't do anything. You never made a mean comment. You never were annoying. You never betrayed him in some way. You never undermined his feelings. You never... See, this is the thing that annoys me about a lot of relationships, right? Don't get me wrong. These men are kind of awful. They are crappy people. You should never waste anyone's time, and you should never maintain a relationship with a woman just because you can have sex with her. That is disgusting. That is genuinely gross. And I'm going to be honest with you, extremely pathetic, okay? So, look, there's no way to defend that behavior. You should never be with anyone because you don't want to be alone. That's nasty. You have an honor to that person. Again, as a male to a female, you should honor that woman enough to say, look, man, I don't like you, so I'm going to let you go be with someone that does. So you're a vile person. Like, make no mistake. Like, I'm not defending this behavior. This is disgusting. But the thing that's interesting to me, as much as I understand that behavior is disgusting, it is also still the same behavior that a lot of women want in the first place, right? A lot of women, unfortunately, do go into these relationships with men like this. Whether it be the quote-unquote narcissistic facade, because they love to call men narcissists. I find it very interesting that so many women have met the 1% of narcissists in the world, or in America at least. It's incredible. But really what it is, it's like it's a confident, self-centered man who's probably attractive that they find themselves in relationships with. Whether it's like he's conventionally attractive or just attractive to her, right? It's that she's finding herself in a relationship with these men. We've got all these dark triad traits, whatever the flip. The long and short of it is, the person has less than optimal character. The person's probably a jerk. He's probably terrible. He probably is an asshole, just straight up. And what a lot of women try to do is they try to master the dark triad man. They try to master this awful man. They try to master this handsome man. They try to get him to like her. Because unfortunately, a lot of women, they don't have a sense of self outside of how other people perceive them, or a sense of self outside of how other people relate to them. This is why women are so preoccupied with their physical appearance. And this is why a lot of women are so preoccupied with social status. They're so because they have to be defined by everyone else. Quite ironically enough, for as much as a lot of women complain about dating narcissists, they too have narcissistic tendencies, right? The truth of the narcissist, and this is why I don't even think a lot of women are even countering narcissists to begin with. I think they just adopted a label they probably found on TikTok because it makes them feel like a victim. But the truth of the narcissist is that a narcissistic person does not actually think very highly of themselves. And what they need is the positive affirmations of other people around them to prop them up. They are as a bucket with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much water you pour into them, the water's always going to spill out. That's the truth of the narcissist. There's more. It's more complex than that. But at its core, that's what a real narcissist would be. What a lot of women describe, on the other hand, I'm going to be honest with you, are a lot more psychopathic tendencies, a total disregard, objectification, them being used, men that have no empathy or regard for them. That's more psychopathy. That's more being a psychopath than it is being narcissistic. If anything, a narcissistic man would be trying really hard to continue to get you to praise him and get you to like him. He wouldn't really be pulling back, and he certainly wouldn't just be having sex. If he's having sex with you, it would, ironically enough, be to pleasure you so much that you validate him in turn. That would be closer to a narcissist's behavior than what's oftentimes being described, even here in this video, right? So let's move on to the next one here, right? Because I think this is really interesting, right? Pow.
So we've all seen this tweet right here, right? So I was in an Uber earlier this week, I think Monday, and basically we're having a conversation about men and why they do certain things that they do and how is it the narcissist at some point, whatnot. He then tells me how he's been with his girlfriend for 6 years, they have a child together, and he absolutely hates her. He said any and every little thing, even the way sometimes she'd breathe, he'd literally be bothered and he'd get pissed off. And you know what? God bless these Uber drivers with the type of conversations we had. It was a big eye-opener for me as well, just in general, you know. And aside from saying men really do hate us, guys, we just need to stay single. We just need to make peace with the fact that we just need to love ourselves and no one else, because these men are horrible, bro.
Now, what's interesting to me, again, the language used here. It's better if we're gonna. No man ever is worthy. No man should ever date. We shouldn't date any man. We should all just be single. This is remarkable, right? It's like, so some men will use you for sex. That means all of us will. It's all the same. It's all the same broad strokes being painted. There are no Urkels, no dweebs, no geeks, no freaks, no strange individuals, right? No ugly dude who would just, feel like the Lord has blessed them with an angel if you should just give him a droplet of attention. There's just none of that. Which, to be fair, like, here's the thing. Like, I'm not actually really saying women should do this. It's just hilarious that they don't. To be fair, you could just date a downtrodden male and just use him for your validation. Now, I've seen some women say that they've made attempts to do that, and the dude would still cheat on them, which should lead us to what is a really interesting point here that seems to always be missed. I think this is a really interesting thing that seems to always be missed. And again, I want to be clear, as I'm not trying to defend the behavior of these less than honorable men maintain relationships with women just to have sex with them. But one thing that is oftentimes just hilariously neglected here is, what the flip is that woman doing in that relationship to make him that bad? if you read some of this stuff, some of these guys here, right? It's like, and again, it's nasty and I think really pathetic, but oftentimes relationships take two people to tango. And we saw this in the first clip, the first snippet here. He paints the relationship as if the woman just was so kind and just so loving and she's just thinking about marriage and kids. And I'm like, with this nigga who doesn't like you, we talk about being delusional here, but I can't imagine you actually are really considering this person as, well, dare I would say, a person. There's no way you can't be that privy to a person's thoughts and feelings. You would have to be if you have honest conversations. You mean the person that's just lying the entire time? No one is that great a manipulator or bloody liar. What is probably more likely than happening is you find the person sexually attractive, and as such, because you find him sexually attractive, and you find very many men not, he's rare, he's special. So you have to maintain and do all that you can to maintain this relationship, even though you know it's probably nonsense. Because the truth of the matter is, guess what? Here's a fun fact. A lot of young men do the same thing. A lot of young men, it may not even be the hot girl, but just any woman who gives him the time of day, gives him attention, gives him some sex, right? They try to maintain that relationship even though they don't even actually like the person to begin with. Sound familiar? So what's going on here, man, is you've got a lot of people coming to this conclusion of, I don't want to be alone. I'm afraid to date. I'm afraid to end relationships or lose the people that I care about because they don't want to be alone. And I've talked to many people who are like this, who have this great fear of loneliness, which I find rather interesting, that they would rather be with someone they don't like than to be alone. Because, again, notice what I said probably in the midway point of this video, I was talking about women, but the same goes to some young men. A lot of people lack self-assurance or a lack of a sense of self. And they have to be defined by having other people around you. I find it so interesting how these girls finally recognize what a trophy wife is for. I saw some comments, or I saw a clip or a video where a girl was like, some guy will just use you to elevate his status. And I'm like, are you new to the 21st century, woman? Like, yeah, we call them trophy wives for a reason. Where have you been? Another thing that's so important, I'll leave the video with this, is for some reason, a lot of young ladies don't take the time to understand men. And this is to their detriment, right? To everyone's society's detriment in general, but to their detriment personally. And that is, you have to understand men and character and honor and compassion and love. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself like this. You're going to find yourself being upset with all men, or thinking the most negative of men is their portrayal, when it's just nonsense. It's ridiculous. There's plenty of men that would just be happy to be around you. And there are men I saw in the comment section there, in that thread there, talking about how they would just never find themselves. They just really love their women. They just really love their girlfriend. There's plenty of men who are like that. The statement that one, I wouldn't say Kenyan, but she's probably from some African country. Her statements that she should just be single because there's just no men out there for her is nonsense. You have to understand men. You have to understand people. There are people who are vile and will absolutely use you. You can't just write them off as a narcissist. You also have to take into consideration your half, or your part of the puzzle there. Like, the person can't just randomly have hated you out of nowhere. What was your behavior like? Did you truly act in your own best, honorable, kind, compassionate, selfless way? Probably not. And I don't blame you for that. You're a human, sure. You probably aren't going to be perfect. But we can't pretend that this disdain just fell from the sky. And if so it did, then that means you just encountered a psychopath from start to finish. And considering that they too make up all of 1% of the bloody population as well, you probably just met a self-centered dickhead who just wanted to have sex with you and never really cared about you. Look, the truth of the matter is, man, it's really not that hard to tell whether someone likes you or not. You want to know how someone likes you? They take interest in you. They care about you. They seek out your opinion. They want your favor. They want your validation. If the dude you're with doesn't ask your opinion on anything, doesn't seek your approval on anything, doesn't take interest in the things you do at all, whether he can participate or not, let's be fair, he probably doesn't like you. It shouldn't take a Twitter thread for you to finally realize that. It should be evident in your relationship. And the fact that you're not doing that work in your own personal relationship to figure that out kind of says something about you too, as much as it says something about him. The truth of the matter is, what we really have oftentimes in many relationships are two people mistreating each other, rather than two people doing the best that they can to be of service to one another. So hopefully this video here will give you guys something to think about. I've been saying this for years. There's lots of women who absolutely will be in relationships with men that don't even like them. But we cannot ignore the fact that at the end of it all, they picked them. And so let's ask the critical question. How the flip could you pick and stay with someone that doesn't like you? For as much as we can disdain that dude over here, he was the man you wanted. You gotta think about that. So that being said, I just hope you guys got something out of today's video. And if you did, I don't know, man, go and click the like button. And shoot, go and click the subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.